to the Kick is Good blog. My name is Paul James, the writer and managing editor, and this is our first video blog. We hope you enjoy the presentation. Well, the season is just about 7 weeks away. Training camp is opening this week. Preseason games start in about 2 weeks from now. It's an exciting time to talk about football. But today's vlog is centered around a league issue that I believe should be talked about in NFL circles. I propose the league move a team to the Los Angeles market. Now, if you've been following the blog over the past couple of weeks, you might have noticed my elevator pitches on the topic. Allow me to further explain why I think this idea will help the game. The NFL is all about making a buck. This is a made-for-TV sport. It's a must-watch every Sunday in the fall. Local bars are packed, people host house parties, pizza and wing places are busy all day with orders. This lasts the entire day because you have 1 p.m. games, you have 4:15 p.m. games, and you have a Sunday night game. Now, the baseball, hockey, and basketball seasons cannot compare to the NFL rating-wise. And it's not because their product is not any better. It's because their season is so long. Hockey and basketball are 82 games over a 7-month span. Baseball is 162 games over a 6-month span, and they play every day of the week. When viewers are provided with the same content almost every single day, they're more inclined to skip a game because they can just watch the next one tomorrow. It's also, the sting of a loss doesn't hurt as much because there's a game the next day. That's not the case in the NFL. Every single game matters, and every single game is a big game. There's only 16 of them. A win in week 1 is just as important as a win in week 15. Hence why these games become must-watch. And there's so much drama to them. And we all know, if we're fans of television, that drama equals ratings. Now, Los Angeles is the second largest media market in the country. And I think the NFL has been foolish for not having a franchise in this market since the Rams left in the mid-90s. The league has tried to create a presence in Los Angeles by putting its NFL network in Culver City. But that fails in comparison to having an NFL team in town. From a television standpoint, putting a team in LA is a fantastic idea. It'll produce more eyes watching the games on Fox, CBS, and NBC in the second largest media market because there will be a local game in town. Right now, they only get probably the 49ers games or maybe the Chargers games and, of course, the national games, but there's no local game in town. Now, some have argued that LA is not a great sports town, and I disagree. I think it's a bad sports town for a non-competitive team. Prices of tickets are expensive, and if a team plays in a large market, they're going to have to charge more money for tickets. It's just part of our economy these days. And if the team is not playing well, people are not going to spend money to go out and buy tickets to watch the game at the stadium. I know the Dodgers and the Angels in LA have suffered through that in recent years. In New York, the Yankees and the Mets are kind of suffering through that right now. But when the Lakers and now the Clippers play well, the Staples Center is full of people. People flock to it, and so do celebrities as well. And when USC was in its heydays in the mid-2000s, their stadium was always packed, and ABC was always showing their nationally televised game on Saturday nights from USC. So I think that this shows Los Angeles can support an NFL team, especially if it's an established winner. So now the question becomes, how does a team get to LA? One thought is expansion. I'm not in favor of expansion, and here's why. Right now, the league has 32 teams, and it's the perfect conference structure. You have 4 divisions with 4 teams each in each conference. Adding another team through expansion ruins the balance and makes scheduling along with divisional alignment a nightmare. Plus, expansion teams take time to develop. The most recent expansion teams were the Texans and the Browns. The Texans are just becoming a competitive franchise, and it's been, I think they came out in 2002 is when the team was relaunched, kind of relaunching the Oilers franchise. The Browns, the new Browns, have yet to win over, they struggle to win over 8 games a season. So expansion doesn't always prove to be successful. And it also dilutes the talent around the league since you need more players. This is a problem that the NBA deals with all the time. They have too many teams that are middle of the pack or below average teams because the talent level just doesn't compare to the upper level teams. And in fact, it's the reason why the NBA has discussed contracting teams to make the sport more competitive. My plan is to move an existing franchise into the Los Angeles area. I would start by looking at small market teams that have difficulty selling out their buildings for home games. One of the first teams that comes to mind are the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, they struggle to draw fans, and their games are consistently blacked out locally because they can't sell out their home games. Jacksonville's not a great pro sports town. It's a southern city, which makes it a possible destination for a Super Bowl, but the league already explored that option back in 2004, and the reviews of the city were not positive. They're one team I would consider moving. The Buffalo Bills and the Minnesota Vikings are the other two teams I'd be interested in relocating. Both have old stadiums. The Vikings are in a struggle right now with Minnesota to get a new stadium built. If you remember, the Metrodome where they play, their roof collapsed a couple of years ago due to a large snowstorm. So they've been trying to get a new stadium as their old building tenants at the Metrodome, the Twins, have a brand new stadium, Target Field. Both teams have decent rosters. The Vikings made the playoffs last year, but the fan base in these cities are so passionate about their teams. And let's face it, there's not much to do in both Buffalo, New York, and Minneapolis in December and January because it's cold and there's snow all over the place. So football provides entertainment for people in these regions. And even when these teams are bad, and consider the Bills have not made the playoffs since 1999, their buildings still sell out. So I would rather leave these two teams in their markets. Finally, we come to the St. Louis Rams, and they're a franchise that previously played in Los Angeles but left after the 1994 season because their stadium lease expired. 5 years later, they won a Super Bowl in St. Louis. Now, the team was successful in the early 2000s and was able to fill its building, but since the 2003-2004 season, the team has struggled to be consistently good. Normally, they're picking at the top of the draft. Now, the positive of that is that you accumulate some good players. And the Rams have a good foundation of young athletic players, with quarterback Sam Bradford and defensive players Chris Long and James Laurinaitis. They also have a coach in Jeff Fisher, who's a proven winner and coaching a big game. The team is on the rise, and it's unfortunate that they play in a division right now with the San Francisco 49ers and the Seattle Seahawks, two teams that many think are Super Bowl contenders. Otherwise, I think they could threaten for a wild card spot in a very competitive NFC conference. In 2 years from now, the Rams could be a top team in their conference and an exciting watch for a new fan base. And ironically, it is 2 years from now where their stadium lease expires. Now, recently the team was denied a $700 million grant by the CVC to make advances to the Edward Jones Dome, their current arena in St. Louis. When the Rams first signed a contract with the city of St. Louis for a stadium deal, part of their agreement stated that their stadium must remain in the top 25 percentile of league stadiums. Denying money for repairs to the Edward Jones Dome takes them out of that percentile and allows the Rams to break their lease after the 2014 season. Now, Stan Kroenke, the team's owner and a real estate tycoon, would not be opposed to moving the team to LA. Ultimately, the Rams to LA could be a great fit. They already play in the NFC West division, so moving to LA makes sense because they could stay in that division. It would not affect the current structure of the division and conferences in the NFL like moving a team such as Jacksonville would. That's an AFC team playing in the AFC South Conference. It also would make sense travel-wise. Currently, the Rams are located in the Central Time Zone, which means that their home games are played at the 1 p.m. time slot. But most of their away games are played at the 4 p.m. time slot since Arizona, St. Louis, and San Francisco are all West Coast-based teams. Moving to LA would mean all four teams would be in the same time zone and would make starting times consistent for both players and fans. One of the big complaints that you often hear from teams coming from the West Coast and having 1 p.m. start times is that it affects teams' preparation the week before the game because they are really starting their games at 1 o'clock Eastern time, but it's 10 a.m. Pacific time. and it just throws everybody's body clock off. This would allow all teams in that division to be all in the same time zone and play at the same time. A positive for all four. More importantly now, the Rams have a history in LA. Returning them back home to LA would reignite the LA Ram fan base and spark a new interest in younger fans. Now, if the team is competitive, it will play in more nationally televised games and gain greater exposure throughout the country. The Rams hardly get any nationally televised Sunday night or Monday night games while playing in St. Louis. Advertising revenue in a new LA stadium would help the team out financially, and playing in a bigger market might attract some bigger free agents. A lot of NFL players spend their offseason in California, in LA. It would be convenient for them to also play in LA. They wouldn't have to do much travel. In fact, they could make their homes permanent in Los Angeles if they were playing there for an NFL franchise. And a new stadium means that it's a potential Super Bowl site. Perhaps the Rams could be the first team that plays in a home site, a Super Bowl game. Though I'm hoping that my New York Giants might do that this year since the Super Bowl is being played at MetLife Stadium. Now, I've laid out why moving an NFL franchise back to Los Angeles is both positive economically for teams and for the league. Ultimately, I think the St. Louis Rams are the team to move. Now, please understand that I'm a fan, just like you are, as you can see by my jersey and my pictures behind me. I hate moving the team out of a city where there already is a fan base. And I'm not trying to hate on the city of St. Louis. I think that there's a great fan base there, and that it's a passionate sports town. Just look at the St. Louis Cardinals and their fans, known to be some of the best fans in all of sports. I just think that the NFL and LA needs the Rams at this point. It makes sense, and it's smart for the league. Thanks for checking out my first video blog. Check back for weekly posts containing news and notes about the league. Have a great week. Enjoy the first week of training camp, and we'll see you next time on the Kick is Good blog.